Dear colleagues, we would like to take this opportunity to tell you about the response strategy of social work with displaced families and the receiving community within the context of sustainable development. Overcoming poverty, inequality, nutrition improvement, ensuring a healthy way of life, raising education quality, enhancing well-being and building up a peaceful and open society are the principal landmarks for working out social projects and programs for improvement of medical, social and educational services for vulnerable strata of population in the context of securing their sustainable future. Attaining these goals is of special urgency in the east of Ukraine, where the military conflict has affected the population's well-being level, led to the arising of the new for the country vulnerable social group, internally displaced persons. These people need support and assistance, including social work concerning a decrease in the conflict's consequences, influences on their lives, securing their sustainable development, adaptation to the new communities, and integration into new conditions of life. There is a need in solving the problems of internally displaced persons and community in socially unstable regions. Formation of new communities in such regions and securing for them a perspective of sustainable development is becoming even more acute and calls for substantiation of the new social work theory, which we have determined to be the response strategy. Therefore, the purpose of this presentation is theoretical substantiation of the response strategy in social work with internally displaced families and the community within the context of the perspective of ensuring their sustainable development. The main methods that ensured attaining the goal of this research were theoretical analysis of sources on the studied problem, synthesis, systemizing, generalization, comparison, documentation study, needs estimation, mathematic statistics methods for comparing evaluation and estimation of the obtained results. The base for the research was the work of the Luhansk area branch of the international charity organization SOS Children's Villages in the military conflict zone and the border regions. The research conducted within the partnership between the Science and Research Center of Social Pedagogy Problems and Social Work at the National Academy of Pedagogic Sciences, established on the base of the state institution Luhansk Taras Shevchenko National University on the one part, and the Luhansk area branch of the international charity organization SOS Children's Villages on the other part. The research is a part of the fundamental project Socialization of the School and Student Youth of the East of Ukraine under the hybrid war in Donbass, and in the course of participation in the international project on strengthening communities for ensuring the children's and families' needs in the north of Luhansk Oblast, supported by the UNICEF and Luhansk Oblast branch of the international charity organizations SOS Children's Villages International. The experiment involved 250 families that found themselves in difficult life situations and were entitled to social support at SOS Children's Villages, towns Starobilsk and Severodonetsk through the response strategy in social work. 80% of these families had the internally displaced persons status, while 20% of the families were locals. Firstly, I'm going to look at the peculiarities social work with internally displaced persons and the community in Luhansk Oblast. These peculiarities are that this region is characterized by the dependency of social work on military and civil administration and the territorial regime, a large number of internally displaced persons, the presence of specific problem and the needs of internally displaced persons and the receiving community, internally displaced persons' participation in social work as specialists, orientation of local authorities at state assistance programs for internally displaced persons acting in Ukraine and not taking into account the peculiarities in the conflict zone. The need in social management under conditions of limited resources, involvement of public organizations to providing social services for internally displaced persons, the need in orienting at resilience. Next, I'm going to inform you about the response strategy in social work with internally displaced families and community. This strategy is directed at renewal of their viability, access to resources, and integration of internally displaced families in the receiving communities. Its content is connected with such unified action as the necessity in estimating the problem and needs, resources mobilizing, actions coordination, and permanent monitoring of the situation. Social response of this type is based on scientific approaches of various levels and principles of human rights protection, sustainable development perspectives, ensuring multidisciplinary approach, integration, resource mobilizing, eco-sociality, advantages theory, assistance for self-assistance, innovativeness, partnership, vitality, synergy, etc. It supposes implementation of the technology of social support of vulnerable children and families, holding events, application of forms and methods by the direction of psychology and pedagogic, socio-medical, information and cultural, humanitarian aid, that are determined by actual problems and needs of internally displaced persons and community. And finally, we'll discuss efficiency of application the response strategy in social work with internally displaced families and community under conditions of difficult socio-political situation that has formed in Luhansk oblast. It is efficient because it activates their resolve in overcoming the consequences of the conflict, restores their potential and social ties, raises stability of both the family and the community in the context of vision of the perspective of achieving the goal of sustainable development. The obtained results attest to a positive dynamics in solving the problems of internally displaced persons, families, and communities in the east of Ukraine because, owing to the use of the response strategy in the course of their social support, the percentage of families who need further satisfying needs in the mentioned kind of services by all kinds of assistance, psychology and pedagogic, socio-medical, information and cultural, and humanitarian decreased, which attests to activation of their own resources in overcoming the consequences of the conflict of their lives, raising the level of their integration into the receiving community. We see the perspective of future scientific research of theoretic substantiation of possible tactics of influence in social work with internally displaced families and the community within the application of the response strategy in the context of the perspective of their sustainable development, the role of communities in forming the market of various services and their accessibility in the eastern Ukraine regions that are characterized as having a difficult socio-political situation. Thank you for your attention.